In this video, I'm going to give you a few scenarios on how you can get started in real estate with no money. Now, the key to understand is that you don't want to get into real estate with the mindset of not having money. So if you're broke right now, the best thing you can do is figure out how to make more money. And obviously that statement may sound like common sense to some, but regardless of your financial situation, in this video, I'm going to give you some helpful how-to steps on how to get started on the road to buying your first property with little to no money down. So first off, there's a lot of fakes and phonies on the internet that are just trying to sell you stuff, and this video is not one of those videos. There's no course for sale at the end of this, at least not yet. Maybe if I can figure out what to sell you guys, I will. But my point is that I am going to give you a few options in terms of how to get started investing in real estate without any money. And some of these options I've done and taken advantage of, and some of them I have not. Now, for the strategies that I have not tried personally, I will tell you that, hey, I have not tried this, but this is still an option that a lot of people do. It's just not my forte, or I have no experience with it. So I'm only commenting on the fact that it exists as an option, but I'm not trying to be a pretender and fraud and act like I've done something if I haven't. There's enough of that nonsense on the internet as is, and I'm not trying to be just another one of those guys. So the first option I'm going to talk about is something called down payment assistance programs for first-time home buyers. And the reason I'm going to start here is because in most states, if you qualify, you can literally put zero money down and get into your first property. And this can oftentimes be a huge game changer in getting your foot in the door on the road to wealth creation, because you can get into your first property and you can start bankrolling equity. And at the end of this video, I will also link a couple other investment videos that talk about one of my favorite types of house hacking, which actually involves multifamily properties on an FHA purchase. So if you're not familiar with that concept, make sure you watch those videos at the end. And I'll also be linking a video about investment metrics that I look at when analyzing a property, which is a great video to look at if you're a first-time buyer looking to get started in investing in real estate. So that way you can know how to spot a good deal, because there's a lot of bad deals out there. In fact, there's often more bad deals than good deals. And I've actually never personally taken advantage of a down payment assistance program, only because when it came time to buy, fortunately, my income bracket no longer qualified, so I was able to get into a property without utilizing it. But when I first started shopping, that was my initial plan, and the median income requirements were somewhere around $70,000 in Colorado at that time. And the threshold has actually been raised substantially since then. So now I think household income can be somewhere around $110,000 in Colorado, and you can still qualify if you are a first-time home buyer. And the way that it works in most states is it's typically going to be a down payment assistance that covers up to a certain amount or a certain percentage of the property, and this will vary by state. But I love these as an option because it literally takes all the excuses off the table. And when you pair this with an FHA loan where you only have to put 3.5% down, it can normally cover the entire down payment plus even some of the closing costs. And the reason I keep referencing FHA loans is because with an FHA purchase, you can get into a multifamily property, and if you are buying a duplex or triplex or fourplex, this is literally an amazing way to get into a multifamily property. And if you are buying as a first-time buyer coming from renting an apartment, this is a great way to buy essentially a mini apartment building, and to be able to do that with a down payment assistance because you're a first-time buyer is literally the smartest move in the book, in my opinion. Now, right now, as of July 2023, interest rates are sky high, and property values have not come down appropriately to reflect cap rates that are competitive against interest rates. But the Fed will pivot eventually, and rates will come back down. So make sure you watch that video that's linked at the end about the relationship between capitalization rate and interest rates, because they go hand in hand when determining what a property is worth and whether or not it is a good investment. Now, this is just one option available, and I talk about it a lot because I love it and think it's a great option. But let's talk about some other things you can do to get into the real estate game with little to no money. Another option that a lot of people take advantage of is a concept called real estate syndication. Now, this is a little bit more advanced math, basically. Think of it like this. There's lots of people out there with money that they want to invest, but they either don't want to take on the headache and property, and this is where you can come in. Some people have money but don't have time. Other people have time but don't have money. So if you're one of the people that doesn't have money but has time, you might be surprised at how many people are willing to invest in properties and partner with you, provided you put in all the legwork needed to find a good deal. Another option is what is called seller financing. Now, there's a lot of scams out there, so there's a right way to do this and a sketchy way to do it. But basically, seller financing is where the person selling the property offers you a loan to buy the property, so title transfers to you at closing, but you have a loan on the property payable to the seller. This means that even though it's a private party and not a traditional bank, there is still a mortgage package known as a promissory note on the property, so the seller becomes the bank essentially, and they can foreclose on you if you don't pay. But the best time to use seller financing a lot of times is on commercial deals, but it's all about finding a seller that is willing and able to do it. Oftentimes seller financing is not an option if there's a first loan on the property that needs to be paid off at closing, because most loans unfortunately are not assumable on residential properties, although a lot of them are, especially on commercial properties. Seller financing basically involves wheeling and dealing and making phone calls until you can find someone motivated to seller finance. Oftentimes it's a good option when people have hard prepayment penalties, which a lot of banks will oftentimes have prepayment penalties, meaning if you sell the property within a few years, for example, there might be a fee for selling early. The reason is this is to ensure the bank gets some of its profits that they were hoping for when they funded the loan in the first place. And I'll make a separate video about this because it is a very involved concept, and it's honestly, it's more than I can cover in just one video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to catch that video when it comes out if you haven't done so already. The bottom line is this is a great option. You just have to find a willing seller with something to gain. Seller financing is all about finding out what is motivating the seller and pitching it to the seller from that angle. So hopefully you found this information helpful, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. When people watch these videos, I'm always curious where they're at in their journey, so let me know. Are you a first-time home buyer that's considering down payment assistance? Like I said, I'm always curious to see where everyone is coming from. And as promised earlier, there's a couple videos popping up on the screen right now, so make sure you check those out if you haven't done so already, and I will catch you on the next episode.